If you are unfamiliar about what Wordle is, it is the new pandemic craze, I guess. Like, first it was TikTok, and then it was sourdough bread, and now it's Wordle. It's run by the New York Times, and essentially it is a 5-letter word that you guess what the 5-letter word is every single day, and every single person has the same word. There's only one per day, and if you miss it, you miss it. You don't get to try again. It's a weird thing. Like, I don't understand why people love it, but they do. So today's Wordle gave me an idea for a video, and that Wordle was found. And I was like, that's a trope. That's a book trope. I could do book recommendations. So, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a video of a few days of book recommendations based on the Wordle. So, today was found. Like I said, I got it in 3 tries. This looks like I cheated, but I promise you I did not. I did not actually think this was the word. I just wanted to know if it had an O and an N and a D in it. And that's what happened. I definitely didn't think that was going to. That's how random these things are. So, I was like, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. I have 2 books with excellent found family tropes. So I'm going to give you 2 recommendations. The first one I have is One Last Stop by Casey Mcquisten. This is a new adult romance. It is queer. It is a sapphic romance. It's about a girl who is a bisexual. She meets this woman on a subway, and come to find out this woman is actually like stuck on the subway, like stuck in time, like cannot get off. She's been there since the 70s. She's kind of like stuck in this time loop. And while the romance is great and beautiful, the found family and the friends that August meets and that she lives with are just so phenomenal. Everyone's so queer. It's essentially if New Girl was gay. That is what this book is. Like, just think of the friends in the loft, the roommates. Like, that's what this is. And then the other one is a absolute found family classic, and that's 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is a band of misfits going on a heist. And while I know it is a young adult, I understand that. And it's also kind of an older book. I just found it last year, and so I've been still raving about it. And I think it reads definitely older YA, and I think it's definitely had its resurgence since the Shadow and Bone TV show, but also since like Book Talk took off with it. So obviously, like, a lot of people have heard about this book. They know about this book, but it does have an excellent found family trope, and I highly recommend it. So those are my 2 recommendations for day 1. We'll see what happens next. It is day 2 of recommending books based on the Wordle of the day. If you are following along with me, and if you are playing Wordle too, you will know that this is not actually the next day. I didn't do one for that day. So today's recommendation is Harry. This was, again, another weird one with double letters. Why? It makes things really difficult. You'll also notice that I use the same starting word every single time. Literally every single time I will use this random one, and it's because I saw a TikTok of it, and ever since I started using this, I have not broken my streak. It has something to do with consonant blends and things like that, and using this one will give you more of an idea of any consonant blends. I don't know. I'll link the TikTok down below if I can find it. So I think the recommendation that would be obvious to everyone would be Harry Potter, but we don't talk about that on my channel. So I have 2 other books that kind of have the same vibes as the book that shall not be named, the author that shall not be named. And the easy answer for this would be Nevermore. That series is very Harry Potter-esque. But I have 2 that are even better. We have Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. This is a middle grade fantasy about a girl who is trying to search for her brother. And then things are not as they seem. Everyone kind of is convinced that her brother is dead. She's not. And she goes on a search for him. And also learns how to become a magician. So got a little bit of magic school in there. And then this one is more just like the more atmospheric vibes. And we have Lost in the Neverwoods by Aidan Thomas. I also wanted to use this one as a recommendation because it is by a trans non-binary author. And so just to, like, you know, throw it in J.K. Rowling's face, we're going to recommend an author who is trans. This is a Peter Pan retelling, and it's probably one of my favorites that I have read as far as Peter Pan retellings. It's very atmospheric, very haunting, and kind of magical, and not, like, super dark. It's dark, but it's not, like, as dark as some of them go. So, those are my 2 recommendations. They kind of have a similar color scheme going on. So yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, we're doing this in my car, and I have like the active type tripod, and it's getting very difficult to try to keep level, but we're just gonna do this anyway. Today's Wordle was stove, which, like, it's not really a word. First off, it's got a V in it, which makes things real difficult when you are trying to find words. Anyways, so today's Wordle word, that's a mouthful. Today's Wordle word is stove. And I was like, okay, how am I gonna make this a book recommendation? And so then I thought, well, just, books that are in restaurants, books that involve food kind of thing. And I have two. Now, if you've watched a lot of my videos, you know that I don't necessarily have a great relationship with books that involve restaurants or kitchens or something like that, because that's what I do for a living. And so it's really hard for me to suspend my disbelief a lot of times because the authors haven't done the proper research. And it's not their fault. Like 95% of the population will not understand it, will not know. They won't know that something is wrong, something is different. Unfortunately, since I have worked in kitchens since I was 18 years old, so half my life, I am what one might consider an expert. I do have letters after my name that are involved with food. Anyways, advanced degrees and stuff. So all that to be said, I don't have a ton of recommendations for books that take place in restaurants, but I thought of two. The first one is pretty popular. It is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is a young adult contemporary about a girl who is a high school senior, and she's also a single mother, teenage mom. She has a very, very close relationship with her grandmother, and her grandmother is just an amazing character. Her daughter is the sweetest little toddler ever, and I love her. If you don't like reading about kids, maybe this book isn't for you. But anyways, she is trying to basically juggle all of these things. Being a teenage mom, trying to graduate high school, having a job, but then also trying to fulfill her dream of becoming a chef. And the whole story is her trying to get to Spain for this class trip. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's a young adult contemporary. You do have to suspend your disbelief as far as like the reality of some things happening, kind of like, a world-renowned chef probably not handing her restaurant over to a teenager. But it was fun, okay? And then the second one is actually a graphic novel, and I don't talk a lot about graphic novels here, but we're going to talk about this one. This is Chef's Kiss. This is kind of adorable. I loved this book. I read it late last year, I think. I think it was last year. And this is about a college graduate, I believe, or right in that like career defining stage. And you have that vicious cycle of you need a job to get experience, but you need experience to get a job kind of mentality. And so he can't find anything. He's going to interviews and they're not going to hire him. So then he sees a sign in the window at a restaurant that says help wanted. He walks in and he gets a job as a line cook, sous chef, something like that. And there's this really funny part in there where there's a restaurant critic, and the head chef is like, well, you can continue to work here as long as the restaurant critic approves. And the funny thing is that in restaurants, and especially with like fine dining, there's like this very negative stigma of restaurant critics, specifically ones that like, really like to just tear apart food and tear apart restaurants. And they kind of are called pigs. So this restaurant critic is literally a pig. And I think that the people that don't work in restaurants probably won't understand that. But I just thought it was hilarious. He's legitimately a pig that's out in the back of the restaurant. He's not like actually a restaurant critic, but he's the critic for the food. And I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was so masterfully done. The art style is just absolutely adorable, and it's also hella gay. So, also another plus. So yeah, those are my two recommendations for the word stove.
Hello, happy Saturday. I have very minimal makeup on, but that's okay. Today's Wordle is scare. I found this to be a pretty easy word to guess. Mostly because of what my first two words were. This obviously makes it very easy to recommend books because scary books.
I don't read scary books. I don't love scary books.
However, I do have 2 of them. One of them, very popular. Everyone's talked about it. Second one, I've talked about it quite a bit. However, it has been a while. The first one is No Exit by Taylor Adams. I found this to be incredibly scary because it's very, like, isolated. You're, like, stuck on a rest stop in the snow, in the middle of a snowstorm and, like, blizzard. You can't get anywhere. And there's some crazy psychos that are also there. So basically this is about a woman who stops at a rest stop between Colorado and Utah, and she sees a girl in a cage in the back of a van at this rest stop, and so she walks into the rest stop. She has to try to figure out, like, who is responsible, and it's full of a lot of red herrings, and it's a little crazy. You know, as thrillers / horror books are, I don't know if this would be classified necessarily as horror. It's definitely more of a thriller book, but it was pretty crazy. I would like to watch the movie. I feel like a lot of people have given it pretty mixed reviews, but I still want to watch it. And then the second one I've talked a lot about on my channel, but I've never heard anyone else talk about it, and that is Fantasticland by Mcquisten. This is a book about a group of amusement park employees that kind of get left behind during a hurricane because the CEO feels like, okay, there's enough food and water in the amusement park. The employees will be fine. We'll come get them later. Unfortunately, later becomes like weeks, maybe a month later, and they have broken up into factions and like different tribes, and they are trying to kill each other. It's crazy. This is also done in interview format. Basically, like, someone's trying to write a documentary on this experience after the fact, and so a lot of different people that are like involved in it have been doing interviews. This is really good. It's also really good on audio. I'm pretty sure it was full cast, and it's part of the Audible Plus catalog. So if you have Audible, you can get this without having to use a credit.
Hello, we're in my car. Again, we're going to talk about today's Wordle, which was lowly. That's a weird word. Didn't love that Wordle because it had 2 L's in it, and it had a W and it had a Y. It was a time. Thought about how to do this and how to make this a book recommendation, and so I thought about doing like lowest rated books, but then as I was looking at like my lowest rated books that I had read, I didn't really want to recommend them. So here's what I thought we're going to do. We're going to talk about the 2 books that have the lowest number of ratings. And then, so they're underhyped books. They're books that you should check out. They're books that not a lot of people know about. So the first one up we have is The Monsters of Music by Rebecca Kinney, I believe. Here's the cover. This is a gender-bent Phantom of the Opera retelling. It is a YA, so like go into that knowing it. But this is it's Phantom of the Opera meets American Idol, essentially. A whole bunch of kids go to this very old like theater thing where they like compete in this competition, and then the Phantom character is this like fae character where like she is able to like mentor one of the competitors. It was actually a lot of fun. I think I gave it 3.5 or 4 stars. It was kind of an ingenious way of doing a Phantom of the Opera retelling without it being like creepy and like dealing with grooming, which is one of the things that like the original story definitely does not have going for it. So that's that one. The second one that I'm going to be talking about is My Fake Canadian Wife. This was a romance novella that has very much like The Proposal vibes, where this woman is going to be deported, is going to be like she's gonna get deported because her work visa is expiring, and so she marries her friend. What I really loved about this one is that the woman is Brazilian and the author is Brazilian, and so there were a lot of like little tidbits into Brazilian culture that I'm relatively familiar with, having like family that has grown up in Brazil. So I was kind of like little Easter eggs. This is a novella. It's like 110 pages. It's super short, but it was a ton of fun to read, and like for being a novella, still super steamy. So really, really enjoyed that. So those are my two lowest number of ratings. Both of them have under 100 ratings on Goodreads, so you should check them out. Hello. It's the final day of doing this. I did forget to do this for a couple of days. It's fine. I thought I was done, and then when I went to go edit, I realized I had one more day. It's fine. Today's Wordle was squad. This one was tricky. Anytime you put a Q in a word, makes it a little bit more difficult. So this one was a little tricky. That's okay. We still got it. When I think of squad, I think sports, right? That seems pretty fair. And I love sports romances. You know this about me. I love my football. You know. I have a lot that I have read. And then I just, picked two randomly. So we have Intercepted by Alexa Martin. This is probably my favorite football romance that I've read. It is by a BIPOC author, and it's just a lot of fun. The third one in the series is probably my favorite. Now, I haven't read the whole series, but these are just a lot of fun. They're a great palate cleanser, and it is about the players of essentially the Denver Broncos and their respective romances. There is also in the newest one, Snapped, a kind of Colin Kaepernick sort of story where the player kneeled during the anthem, and then there's like a whole, social media problem with it. And then my second one, I realized I haven't recommended this book in a very long time, and I felt like that was a crime. So we have Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. And in this one, Zaf is was a professional rugby player, and then he is now like a coach for like a youth league. This is one of my favorite books of all time. Made my favorite book of 2020, which that was a year. I absolutely love this series. I love Talia Hibbert, another BIPOC author. What can I say? It really wouldn't be a recommendations, especially a romance recommendation video, without a Talia Hibbert on here, right? That's kind of my brand. Anyways, I hope you had a lot of fun with this. I did. It was kind of random. I would do the Wordle. I usually do it in my car, and when I get to the office, and then I would kind of spend a couple of hours thinking about it. Okay, how could I make this a book recommendation? And some of them are really easy. They come to mind really easily. And some of them I kind of had to think about a little bit. And some of them I might have skipped. Let me know down below, if you play Wordle, what is your first word? Because if you notice, I do the same first word every single day. I think I talked about this previously. I feel like it works for me. But what is your first word? Or do you have the same first word that you... And if you don't play Wordle, or if you're not feeling chatty, then you can put some hearts down below. And I'll talk to you down in the comments. That is all I have for you today. If you're new here and you have not yet subscribed, there's a little red button that you can do so down below the video. And all of the other links to my social media will be in the description below if you would like to be my friend on any other platform. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!